Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's Jerry Miller. It's great to be with you on a Monday. Thank you kindly for joining us. An absolute pleasure to connect with you through the I Love CVille network. Today's program, super stoked about Robert Cray in the house, Derek Rush in the house. The first gentleman, Robert Cray, I have known since I think he was 15 years old. The dude is a beast. I'm excited to showcase his vision, his entrepreneurial spirit. Derek Rush, another standout from Western Albemarle High School. I'm excited to spotlight him today on the I Love CVille Show. I encourage you to give the show a like and a share on any of the 12 Facebook pages you're watching this show on. It will further spotlight their mission and their goals with the Conscious Capitalist Group Foundation, Inc. We're going to spotlight what they want to do with this business and how they're being social entrepreneurs, making Charlottesville and Central Virginia a better place for all of us. Before we welcome the fellas to the set, let's thank two of the clients that make the show possible. We are an advertising agency here at V&V Brands. On the first and second floor of this building, we represent a lot of clients in the community. Two of our favorites, Interstate Pest and Service Companies, and Dr. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. First, Interstate. The business started in 1969 with the first generation, Mr. Robert Wells. Mr. Robert Wells used his personal truck, sweat equity, and payphones around Charlottesville, Virginia to build a company. Today, this business has 4 generations of family running it, almost 100 employees, and a Commonwealth-wide working footprint. Undoubtedly a success story. Dr. Wagner, also a success story. We've been working with Dr. Wagner for about 7 years now. Dr. Wagner, through chiropractic care, physical therapy, and sports medicine, changing people's lives. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner's got your back. Guys, give it a like and a share. We will welcome Robert Cray and Derek Rush to the program. Studio camera, my friend. Jake Waddell says, I love these guys. He's watching right now. I count 3 different states watching the program. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Thank you kindly for joining us. You guys are dapper dons, flossing as usual. Robert Cray, I'm going to start with you. What makes you tick, my friend? Passions, hobbies, and interests. Who is Robert Cray?
Robert Cray is a guy who was born and raised here in the Charlottesville area. Grew up in Albemarle County. I attended all Albemarle County schools, Yancey Elementary, Walton Middle School, and Monticello High School. I graduated from Monticello High School. I'm a local entrepreneur, business guy in the area, community activist, just doing a lot of work around social entrepreneurship, trying to make my community a decent place to live in. What am I passionate about? Passionate about a bunch of different things. I'm a sports guy, so I played basketball, football in high school, so extremely passionate about sports. I feel like, I coached as well. I coached at Charlottesville High School, the freshman boys basketball team, and then I spent some time at Beaufort Middle School coaching there as well. I feel like sports is a great medium to kind of like, make a difference in young people's lives as well as adults. So just passionate about making my community a better place to live in.
Your adorable daughter, 1 year old.
Yeah.
Amazing. Father, what's it like to be a dad? From one young dad to another dad. It's hard as hell.
It's tough, man. Definitely learned a lot about myself over the course of the past year. Her birthday was November the 2nd, so she turned 1, and we threw this big birthday party for her. She was kind of like overwhelmed. I don't know. I guess she was like scared or whatever. I don't know what was going on.
A lot of new faces.
A lot of new faces. She just wasn't really acting herself, but it's cool, man. Just I don't know, man. Like for me, watching like a little teeny baby evolve into this human being, and now she has this person, like she's coming out of her shell. She's showing more personality. I just watch her. She's extremely independent. She likes to do a lot of things on her own. She's a quick learner. She learns fast, and she's just like into everything. So it's a beauty to watch, man. I've had to put myself second a lot of times now, which is something I'm starting to grow to become accustomed to. But yeah, you really gotta change things, change a lot of things, rearrange a lot of things in your life, to make sure your child is successful and set up for success. So.
Very well said. I have also struggled with that as an entrepreneur. I can totally relate. Let's welcome Derek Rush in the mix here. Derek, Scott Hamler's giving you some props. Quentin Johnson giving you some props. Charlie's giving you some props.
Shout out to Charlie.
William Jones giving you guys some props. Derek Rush. Who are you, baby?
Derek Rush. Who am I? I am also a local product. Grew up in Albemarle County. Born and raised in the area. Went to Yancey Elementary for a little while. Went to Walton Middle School. Attended Monticello High School for a little while as well. Ultimately graduated from Western Albemarle. Big sports guy as well. Basketball, football, lacrosse. Ran track. Once I left Western, I went to Southern Virginia University, where I played lacrosse there as well. So that's a brief summary on me. What I'm passionate about is just working with youth in general. When I was in college, I should say, I worked with like special needs children, so children with autism. I also coach lacrosse as well. Actually, I'm a resident in Richmond right now, so I actually coach lacrosse at a local high school in Chesterfield County.
You love Richmond? Richmond's awesome.
Yeah, Richmond's dope.
Yeah.
Richmond's, I've definitely made it into my second home. It's definitely settled in pretty well there. There's a lot going on socially. But ultimately, I just came to the conclusion that I needed to come back to Charlottesville and definitely do some work in the community, uplift our youth. That's what I'm passionate about. Also, I'm starting a little local nonprofit in Richmond as well that's based around lacrosse called the Richmond Lacrosse Academy.
Nice.
I got a little workshop later today that I'm going to be doing with some kids. So yeah, that's ultimately what I'm passionate about. Social entrepreneurship, obviously. Using entrepreneurship as a avenue or as an alternative avenue, to help kids out. Not everybody's going to go to college and, things of that nature. So we want to, push entrepreneurship, at least the entrepreneurial mindset, to where they're developing, the basic, understanding of the basic entrepreneurial terminology, to where, because that'll translate ultimately, even if you get a job, that'll still translate to where you'll go into a job with the entrepreneurial mindset of, I'll come in, learn, the ropes, so to speak, and then ultimately move on to doing my own thing.
Jake says you can run the pick and roll better than anyone at Seaville.
Oh yeah, Jake's he's my pick and roll guy. We got a mean 2-on-2. We beat a couple of our buddies, Corey and Charlie, in their dad's driveway one day pretty bad. So ever since then, the pick and roll took off. So,
let me throw this to you guys, because this is close to me. Also a social entrepreneur. My business has been in operation for a little over 11 years. Mm-hmm. We've raised $113,000 plus in 11 years for local charities. I'm going to throw it to you. We can run a business for profit in the black that can leave the community in a better place than we first started the business. A lot of people don't understand that running the business, you got to do it you got to keep the lights on. You got to keep people paid. You got to keep people heading in the right direction. Throw this entire mindset of being social entrepreneur to you.
So social entrepreneur. I was a community activist before anything. So I went to St. Augustine's University down in Raleigh, North Carolina. Got my degree in political science.
Started college to play hoops, right?
Well, baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah. But I was getting a lot of interest for basketball.
You were a
out of
beast.
high school, yeah. So ended up playing baseball in college. But so started doing some internships around community organizing. I organized around environmental issues, environmental racism, social justice issues. So that's pretty much like my foundation. That's where I got my start as a grassroots organizer. And then when I graduated, I took an internship at the North Carolina General Assembly. And so I was working under Senator Don Davis down in North Carolina as his legislative assistant. And so, I was doing that and just kind of internalized with myself, I'm not really feeling it, the political stuff. I kind of wanted to do something where I had more control. I love participatory democracy, but I feel like we can affect change in other ways. And so I took an opportunity back home here in Charlottesville. A friend of mine, they started a sneaker boutique called 89 Till. It was a buy-sell trade sneaker boutique. located on 2116 Burkmar Drive, which is right across from Will's barbershop, his Image Barbershop. And so took that opportunity, ended up coming back home. It was crazy because my mom was looking at me like I was crazy, right? Because I'm leaving my career path and taking this, leap of faith with entrepreneurship, and didn't really know what to expect. First generation business owner. This is like really my first shot at owning something of my own. So I did that, and I was full time at it. Didn't have any part time or anything. I was just doing that full fledged. And so I did that for about 2 years.
What was your mindset like? I remember when I did it, dude. My family and my girlfriend at the time, they had an effing intervention when I chose to get out of broadcasting, sports radio, TV.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, what in the hell are you doing? Not keeping a consistent paycheck to launch a company. I got home to my spot. There was like 9 people there. And it was like an intervention. Do not do this. And I was like, it just made me want to do it more.
Yeah, that's what I found out. It just made me want to do it more. Everybody's looking at you like you're crazy, but everyone doesn't have your vision. No one's going to see your vision until you make people a believer. So was doing that for a while, for I think like two years, and then that's where I started Dreaming Diamonds. Right, I started the clothing line inside of 89 Till. That's where I gave birth to Dreaming Diamonds. So the clothing line kind of like took off. I always had the idea of marrying on entrepreneurship to community engagement. That was kind of like my mindset, and I've been pretty successful with it. So just my definition of social entrepreneurship is identifying a problem that exists in your community and, coming up with a business model around that issue to kind of like address it through entrepreneurship.
Awesome answer. Awesome answer. Social entrepreneurship for you.
Social entrepreneurship to me, just to kind of piggyback off what he said, is just basically a responsibility to your community, as well. So basically capitalism, because capitalism in its essence in Western culture is rooted in competition for the most part. So we want to kind of create like a paradigm shift of not competing, but like working together. So we want to create that mindset that you can be an entrepreneur, you can make money, and all that good stuff, but also you have a duty to give back to your community as well. So, kind of pulling the next person up who may have been in your situation at some point, but, and be willing to help them out, whether it be through, maybe access to capital or just mentoring in general, but just essentially just having, being compassionate about your community and wanting to give back, wanting to see the next person come up, because you understand where you came from, so you want to be able to basically give somebody else that opportunity as well. So that's, social entrepreneurship to me for the most part. And I just got into it just basically because I started my entrepreneurial journey working with a buddy of mine in Richmond. He started a Class A contracting company. He brought me on as a VP of the company, and we did some good things. And I learned a lot, as far as business goes through working with him. Shout out my man Brandon, doing Stalwart in Richmond. If you need a good Class A contractor, holler at him. But we just basically built this business up from the ground up. He was new to contracting, I was new, but throughout that journey, it taught me a lot. And I've always been passionate about working with kids, so it basically birthed a vision of how can I become an entrepreneur and still be effective in the community and not be a leech, just taking and taking and taking from people, but not giving back. So that's where me and Rob hooked up. We grew up together, and we started in the CIC, graduated from that. So we went into the CIC.
Tell them what CIC is.
The Community Investment Collaborative. So shout out to them as well.
Big time.
Yeah, they're a great organization doing a lot of good work in the community as well. So we went into there with this idea that, all right, we're going to go in there with our individual ideas as far as what we want to do entrepreneurial-wise, but we're also going to come out of there with something that we can partner up on. And we weren't sure if it was going to be a for-profit or non-profit, but we ultimately landed on the nonprofit route because we felt like that would be the most effective way to be able to give back to our youth, because the segment of the youth that we want to work with may not be able to afford the type of services that we want to give to them. So we feel like going the nonprofit route was probably the best way to be the most effective as far as helping that population.
Gerard Smith watching, he just shared the show. Garrett Klingel says, good stuff, Derek. You're getting some props right now from, is it David Eady Jr.? You guys keep up the good work. You're making Esmond proud. Brent Jocks watching right now. Larry Hartstock watching right now. 11 states watching the program here. Give it a like and a share on any of the 12 Facebook pages you're watching the show on. All right, no rules here. 3 dudes shooting the shit about business, about the community that they love here. Don't even wait till I prompt you with questions. Go anywhere you want. Let me throw this topic to you, and then we're going to get a deep dive here. What is the Conscious Capitalist Group?
So that's the name of our nonprofit, and there are some parallels with conscious capitalism and social entrepreneurship. Like he just said, just being compassionate about your community, being like seeing business through the lens, not through the lens of an opportunist, but through the lens of kind of like an activist, someone who's just improving and enhancing his community, whether it's politically, socially, economically. So that's conscious capitalism.
Conscious capitalist to me, obviously it's the name of our company, but I came across the term maybe about a year ago. So I was listening to this podcast, and this lady, forgive me, I forgot her name, but she kept bringing up the term conscious capitalist. And then I was watching this interview with Killer Mike, and he mentioned compassionate capitalist. So I was kind of wavering back and forth between the two, but ultimately they mean the same thing. It's just marrying passion on the purpose, basically. So it's ultimately like the essence of capitalism, like we would like to think is good. So basically, like we're trying to reinvent what capitalism looks like, to a certain popular, ultimately like everybody. But we want to, like I said, we want to create a paradigm shift, with kind of changing the way people think about how capitalism works. Right. Obviously, we got a lot of big corporations who, have a stranglehold on a lot of resources and things like that. So we want to hopefully at some point get to the point where, we can provide resources that'll even the playing field to a certain extent. So
love that. How is capitalism and entrepreneurship and being a business owner looked at from your perspective in the Charlottesville, Central Virginia community? And let's get deep.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get deep here. I know you get deep all the time.
Yeah.
You want to?
Yeah, in the Charlottesville community, I feel like capitalism is just associated with greed. A lot of people who control the resources, a certain percentage of the population that controls all the resources that's not and it's not trickling down to the community. So basically they're coming in with, different avenues, whether it be development and, things of that nature, where they're just like, sucking the blood out of the community, but not putting anything back into the community. And a lot of people are upset, and rightfully so, because they feel like they're being exploited, and they are being exploited. So and then we have a lot of bright people in this community, specifically the African American community, with bright ideas, but they're not given access to capital, being systematically denied access to wealth. So so there's a segment of the population who feels like, that they're being left out of all this wealth that's being generated in Charlottesville. So that's, from the outside looking in, that's how it looks. And, we just want to maybe, bite a chunk out of that, get what,
Shake things up a little bit.
A little bit.
Jump in here.
Shake things up. We can look at it from a bunch of different ways, man.
We got plenty of time.
Yeah, we got plenty of time, so let's do it. Of course, I'll start with August the 12th, right? And August the 12th it highlighted the political, social fabric of Charlottesville. I don't necessarily think that it was all about the statue, right? I think we needed to kind of shed light on the undertone, right, of what's going on here in the Charlottesville community, in terms of just like the whole political side of things, the whole business side of things. I feel like he said, the African American community in specific, we've been kind of like marginalized, and it's not just Charlottesville. I don't want to just put everything on Charlottesville. It's really throughout the nation, right? But the African American community in specific has been kind of like marginalized. We do have brilliant ideas. We have doctors. We have lawyers. We have business professionals that exist in our community with brilliant ideas who might not have access to a lot of the resources. If you look at the wealth gap here in Charlottesville, it's huge, and it's parallel to the national wealth gap. But I just think that given the opportunity, same opportunity, equal level playing field, I think that if we can collaborate. If we can ever come to a space where we can collaborate and coexist with one another, I think it'll do nothing but enhance the community for the better. And really, just going through the CIC, I'll use the CIC for example. CIC it's a beautiful space because you have all different walks of life coming in with all these different business ideas, right? And then, so you're split up into groups in the class. So I think my group was like 15? It was like 15 people in my group. But
Maybe a little less.
Yeah, maybe a little less. But just a bunch of different ideas, different experiences, but coming together for the better, right? For the better of the community, for the better of the class. And really, I learned so much from all these different individuals, and I'm able to take their shared experiences, their advice, and put it, in my business to better the community. So we're just really, we're better together, but, and a lot of people say that, Charlottesville is this diverse place, but I feel like diversity without equity really means nothing. It's symbol without substance. So everyone needs to be in a position where we can contribute equally and uplift the community.
I straight up say on this show right now that Charlottesville is not a diverse place, and it needs to do a better job of being diverse. I mean, there was at one time where the community was 50-50 white and African American. Now we look at those metrics and statistics, it's below 20%. Yeah. And I think August 12, 2017, I'm going to throw this to you, Derek. August 12, 2017 was like, we're going to look back on it in our history and say that this was like a critical crossroads for Charlottesville to like starting conversations that were not otherwise had, because Charlottesville had this moniker of being the best place to live in America, and everybody in Charlottesville was so focused on we are the best place to live in America, they weren't really focused on what was actually happening and transcending in the community. And August 12, 2017 was this huge wake-up call for us to see like the actual writing on the wall, that there was a huge portion of the population that was disenchanted and demoralized and not feeling respected, and I think it was bullshit.
Yeah.
And in retrospect,
Absolutely.
August 12, 2017 was what I hope, and what we're trying to do with the show, was the starting point for actual equity and change being made and heading in the right direction. I'm going to get out of the way and go anywhere you want.
Yeah. So as far as August the 12th, I mean it was almost necessary to the point where, well, not necessarily necessary, but it created a space, or an awareness, I should say, of the conversation that needed to be had. Because like you said, like Charlottesville, even growing up here, like, you've experienced little subtle hints of racism here and there and things like that. And then, and you almost become numb to it to a certain extent because it happens so often. But like, it made it so we could have that conversation around, what Charlottesville really is versus like the perception that everybody had of Charlottesville being this great place to live. And I mean, it is, for the most part, it's a pretty decent place to live, but it's not very inclusive. And, people were just saying like, I've seen a lot of things about, oh, this is not my Charlottesville, or this isn't the Charlottesville that I know, but that's just basically subjective on who you are and what your experience has been in Charlottesville growing up. So when I seen stuff like that, August the 12th to me was just kind of like peeling back the layers of the onion, and finally it was exposed for what it really was. Like, Charlottesville isn't, this utopian place, to live, where everybody thought it was like, the best place to move. I mean, for some people it was, but other people have been getting pushed out of the city, for long, into the county. There's discrimination that's been going on for years, racism that's been going on for years. So, I mean, to me, it kind of put a spotlight on Charlottesville to where people like it almost like once it put the national spotlight on it, like people were almost like forced to have that conversation, forced to change, and it's uncomfortable. I mean, for a lot of people, because a lot of people, perception is built on experience. So like if you haven't been through what certain people been through, if that's not your day-to-day life, that you're living, like then you can't really relate to what people are saying. So it's like when people say like, oh man, like all this racist shit's been happening, like so on and so forth, and people are like, oh man, like that's not racist, like, or whatever the case may be, want to sweep it under the rug to make it seem like it's not. But then when that happens, it's like, oh shit, like there is some racist shit going on here, and maybe we need to have this conversation. But I mean, have we made any progress since August the 12th? I don't know.
Have we?
It's a good question.
Conversation.
What does that progress look like?
Conversation is just talk right now.
Right.
I think it's more like I said, more symbol.
Like a feel-good session.
Yeah, it's more symbol than anything. So we're talking about it, but like what are the actionable items to really go out?
What's the starting point of progress?
Besides
talk, what's the next step?
The next step?
Yeah.
I'm a money guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Economics.
Talk to me about that.
Wealth building.
And give it to me in this mic here, because you're dropping dimes here.
Okay. Wealth building. So we have to make sure that everyone is included in the wealth conversation, right? I try to stay away from the left-right political game, right? But I do think entrepreneurship is a good place to start. Training, like things like the business that we're starting, the nonprofit that we're starting with the Conscious Capitalist Group, right? We're teaching social entrepreneurship. We're not just teaching entrepreneurship through the lens of capitalism, like greed. It's actually compassion. So really being proactive and catching these youth while they're young, right? And these are still brilliant ideas. They're just not rooted in capitalism. So we can create. We have to start being more creative with our businesses as well, right? And that's something we want to put an emphasis on as well. So just really teaching them entrepreneurship at an early age, giving them that foundation. There are a lot of different skill sets that come with entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, team building skills, critical thinking skills. You have to be able to, think on your feet, think fast. You have to be able to work with people. We learn that in sports, right?
Got to be a problem solver.
Yeah, you got to be a problem solver. So really just, I think it starts with entrepreneurship. It starts with economics, right? That should serve as the foundation. But also another piece that we haven't spoke on is cultural awareness, right? African Americans, Black people have contributed a lot to this city, a lot to this area, to this town, and I believe that history is best qualified to reward one's research. So if you don't know where you've been, how can you plan for the future? So really, those two things, the combination of cultural awareness and entrepreneurship. Wealth building through entrepreneurship and financial literacy.
Right. I just want to touch base on the piggyback off what you were saying with the cultural awareness. Like, history is best qualified to reward one's research, because if you've only, like, what we've suffered from specifically in the African American community is having a lack of understanding of where we come from. So when the only examples of success is based on like what white people and how successful they've been, like, then you can ultimately, it's hard to see yourself in that space because you don't see anybody who looks like you, who has success. So that's where knowing your history comes in, knowing that, we've built civilizations, like we're the original entrepreneurs of the world. So, just being in tune with your culture, even in the United States, like, once slavery's over, Reconstruction, things like that. That was a time period where we built the most schools, churches, hospitals, banks, everything.
Monticello, UVA,
everything. Right. So we built, that can be a very small sample size, like of what we've done since we've been here to inspire the youth. But a lot of them, I can't really remember in high school really learning about Reconstruction and what we did during that period of time. So we want to, as part of our organization, we want to home in on time periods like that, so we can show like, look, we've built this, like we've done this, we've done that, like, so it's not too far fetched for you to see yourself in the lens of a successful entrepreneur or a successful person in general. So that's why, I feel like, or we feel like that cultural component is going to be huge in our success of our organization, and ultimately, hopefully, that'll trickle down to the rest of the community. That's why we want to start, with the youth. We feel like, obviously they're the future. So we feel like, with homing on the cultural aspect to them, that'll ultimately, lead to their long-term success. And then once they know who they are and have a thorough knowledge of self, they'll be able to, basically, translate that history down to their peers and the ones that are younger than them. And then hopefully, over time, that'll create a different mindset moving forward that, once the playing field's even, like, we're going to be able to succeed as well and have these successful companies, tech startups. I'm real big on tech, interning in the tech field myself. So I'm going to be pushing, things of that nature, like things of the future, tech, skilled labor, things like that. Like, you'll always have job security and be able to make money, with those type of skill sets. So.
Skills pay the bills.
Yeah, let me throw this to you. Our friend Alex Asher watching in Texas, he says 2 great guys right there. Jay Bug Louderback giving you guys some props. Sharice Pendleton, nephew, giving you some props right now. Quentin Cook, giving props right now on the feed. Ben Scruggs giving some props. Leslie Gourdet, old soccer coach at Western Albemarle High School, watching the program. Love Leslie Gourdet.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Sharice, let's talk solutions. We will talk solutions. Throw this to you. The mindset of how education is changing. Mm-hmm. Like, my kid is 18 months old. I wonder what school and education is going to be like when he's 18, what like the college model is actually going to be, because it is so broken. 4-year graduates coming out of college with like 200,000 in debt. And like, how the hell do you clear a $200K loan when you're starting off at 22, 23, as opposed to coming out of high school? Let's say like a guy we both have respect for. All of us have respect for. Fernando. Okay? Straight out of high school, going straight into launching a business, stacking some paper, building something that's generational. One of the youngest entrepreneurs in Charlottesville with his barbershop on the corner. Did not go to the college route. Maybe when you guys are a little bit younger than me, but maybe when like we're coming out of high school, we catch probably shit for not thinking about going to college.
Yeah.
It was like never a choice.
You look down upon. Yeah, for not, making college a priority.
How's it going to change? How should it change?
I feel like it is changing. Like, it's almost like, people are catching the wind of it, of what this education, because education is just basically big business at this point. Like, and I feel like college is necessary contingent upon what field you're trying to go into. Like, so you have people who are going into college and getting a degree in certain fields, which is okay. I mean, it's a good achievement, but using the term he used, it's almost like symbol with no substance, because just say in the tech field or any field in general where experience matters more than education. So I could go straight out of high school and go into a field, gain experience, so on and so forth. Like, you just went to school for 4 years and got out. Your only experience may be a summer internship that you had or something like that. But it's like, who's more qualified to work that job now? Like, or let's say from an entrepreneurial standpoint, like, if I'm looking to hire someone, like, at this point in time, like, maybe like you said, back when we graduated, in that time, like, most jobs are going to hire the college grad over the person, even over the person with experience more so. But now, as an entrepreneur, you're going to be thinking like, well, like, if I hire this person out of college, I'm going to have to train them, so on and so forth. Like, but this person, they have experience, so I can plug them right in, and they're going to be good to go from Jump Street. So, it just makes more sense to hire somebody with experience over somebody with a degree. So I think, by the time your child, becomes 18, I think education is going to, it's not going to be as important as it is. At least a college education, depending on what field, like I said, they're going into, isn't going to be as important as it is now. Because now people, especially with entrepreneurship, everybody can't be an entrepreneur. But, I feel like, education is probably not going to be playing like a biggest part as it is now, maybe 10 to 15 years from now, on the college level, that is.
I come from the mindset of...
Because you got a daughter.
Yeah,
One.
I come from the mindset of, so oftentimes we want to teach youth, what to think, right? Instead of how to think. And a lot of times what that does is, so you go through life without, realizing what your purpose is, right? You never really focus on what you're passionate about. You never really focus on what you're good at, your gifts, your strengths, your weaknesses, right? And oftentimes people, we like to separate people from entities, right? So I'm a reflection of my entity. I'm a reflection of Dreaming Diamonds. I'm a reflection of conscious capitalism, right? These are my ideals. Oftentimes we do that. So I just say, whatever a child or a young person is passionate about, whatever they're good at, try to help them identify those things. And then you can decide what route you want to take based on your strengths, what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, right? I wouldn't completely write off college, like college isn't important, because I know it was in college where I gained certain skill sets that, open up doors, open up opportunities. If I wouldn't have had these skill sets, if I wouldn't have gained these skill sets in college, right, I wouldn't have the opportunities I have now after college. So I wouldn't necessarily say write college off, but
in hindsight, would you have gone the same path?
No. But what about the little girl or the little boy who wants to be a surgeon or a doctor?
That's different, yeah.
Right? What route do they take? So
Right.
they almost
You have to take college.
They have to go traditional.
They have to go traditional. So I wouldn't necessarily write college off. It's very important, but I wouldn't base, if I'm an employer, I wouldn't base my sole, hiring process on, if he has a college degree or not, if he or she has a college degree or not. I'm looking for critical thinkers, problem solvers, people who can come in.
Teamwork.
Right, teamwork.
Right.
So, yeah.
We got this comment coming in, and you guys have both touched on this. They've asked us to touch on the history of Vinegar Hill. I'm going to give a snapshot, then get out of the way. And guys, after the Civil War, an entire neighborhood in 1965 was destroyed as part of urban renewal in Charlottesville. One church, 30 businesses, 158 families were displaced, all African American, and the members of this community then were put into public housing. And when you take away homes, you take away generational wealth that can be passed down. When you take away businesses, you take away generational wealth. When you take away churches, you take away a sense of identity and community. You take away a sense of identity. The topic that wants to be put out there is, how do we educate our youth in the community today about topics like Vinegar Hill, and how this should be part of educational curriculums? Throw that topic out there. It's a good one.
So I guess how can we incorporate that into the curriculum,
the history.
Or the history of it? I'm not sure how you go about incorporating it into...
Did you learn about it?
No, never. Didn't
you?
learn.
In school?
No, not in school.
Yeah.
After I graduated.
Yeah, so my recent knowledge of Vinegar Hill was maybe over the past 3 to 4 years. The name, I always heard the name, but never, really did the research on what exactly it was. And we're both in leadership Charlottesville, so we've had some sessions that we've touched on Vinegar Hill. Been to a lot of meetings with the New Hill Development Corporation.
Yeah,
with
Yolanda
and Quentin. So a lot of my knowledge about Vinegar Hill has come from those two areas, but it is essential for us to know that knowledge moving forward, to figure out some way to teach it. Maybe, I think what New Hill's doing is good as far as the education on Vinegar Hill. So people with platforms like that obviously will help moving forward. But I think it's definitely essential that we learn about that way, because it's empowering to a certain extent. Learning about a thriving African American community with businesses and, you know, that family structure that was in there. And then ultimately it was broken up, you know, for Charlottesville to develop into a more metropolitan or urban type city. So yeah, but I'm not sure how we would go about implementing it into an actual curriculum that they would have to teach in the schools, but I don't know.
What do you think?
I think it's extremely important.
Yeah.
So I did some work with the City of Promise. Are you familiar with that organization? So City of Promise, they're doing some excellent work in the community as well. They're a nonprofit. It's a cradle to college organization. So essentially the idea is to get these kids, you know, create a pipeline from elementary to college. And then, you know, they go to college, they get a skill set, they use that skill set, they bring that skill set back to Charlottesville, to Westhaven footprint, and use that skill set to break up intergenerational poverty, right? So, but I had Charlene Green come in, and she gives presentations on Vinegar Hill. But, so these are all youth from the Westhaven neighborhood, right? And so they had no idea of, you know, why their neighborhood looks the way it looks, you know, how it ended up in the condition in which it's in, why they live the way they live. So we had her come in and do the presentation. I thought it was a good idea for them to see the evolution. The evolution, mm-hmm. Right, the evolution. So they saw, you know, Vinegar Hill and what it looked like. You know, you had thriving business owners, a thriving black community, business community in Charlottesville. These are homeowners, right? It's equity in home mm-hmm. ownership. That's kind of like your first quest that's the start of your quest to economic empowerment. Build wealth. Yeah, to build wealth.
Yeah. Generational wealth.
So they seen the evolution, right? And some of these kids just had no idea. Like, they just think, well, I'm here because, you know, these are the choices my parents made, right? Mm-hmm. But it's deeper than that, right? You're here, like a lot of you guys are, a lot of you kids are in the situation you're in, or your parents are in the situation they're in because of things that, you know, they might not necessarily be able to control, right? Mm-hmm. Systematic racism. So when they seen like the evolution of Vinegar Hill to, you know, being like a lot of these residents being displaced into public housing, right? They're like, now I get it. Like I understand. So that it gives them a certain wherewithal and to kind of like how to circumnavigate a lot of the obstacles in which they face on a day-to-day basis.
What's that perspective offer?
I think it offers confidence. Mm-hmm. Definitely offers confidence because you're not looking at it from a standpoint of I'm inadequate, right?
Or hopelessness.
Or I'm hopeless, right? You're not victimizing your struggle. You're trying to figure out, all right, well, if this happened before, like, how do we, like, what do we do to avoid it in the future? What do I have to do to step up?
And that's what I'm so excited about what you guys are doing, is like, you guys are, whether you, and I think you're going to embrace this moniker, you guys are straight up leaders. Yeah. And like, you guys were leaders in sports. Like, so we're about 4 years difference. I remember you especially.
Yeah.
Like an effing leader. Okay? And like with what you're doing, like what you guys were doing in sports and now what you guys are doing in business, it's like inspiring. And like when you, and Sharice has said this well, Sharice is watching right now. We need to teach black children about ownership, about being business owners. We need to teach black children that we can do this and that black community can be rallying around entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw that topic to you. Derek, why don't you jump in here? Do you embrace the fact that kids, youth, will look up to you as an entrepreneur and say, I can do this too?
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, that's that's one of the end goals of our organization is becoming role models, being someone to look at that's actually scalable. Because a lot of our role models as far as business owners, like the entertainers or the big business moguls, like a little kid from Charlottesville
are local.
Yeah, right? So you can't really look at Jay-Z or somebody like that and
really see him at the grocery store.
Yeah, get a sense of like how he got there. Like it doesn't seem feasible, but but for somebody like us, we come from a community that's not doesn't have a lot of wealth in it, like and we took different paths to get where we are and ultimately reconnected. So we want to we don't mind being that face that somebody looks at like and says like, okay, like those guys, like they come from the same background we came from, have endured some of the same experiences that we've went through, like family members that's been through the same type of stuff, and we were able to cultivate that into a entrepreneurial mindset that's going to ultimately lead to hopefully a lot of kids using us as an example to move forward. And ultimately, like we need to help, the support, of the Black community, when it comes to being successful. Like we want to create a brand, that they will be willing to stand behind and support ultimately to ensure the success, of our future, which is our youth. So we need everybody, not just the Black community. Like we need help from everybody, but specifically we need help from the Black community, to basically hit like our end goal of our organization, which is, to create this entrepreneurial mindset within our youth, show them, what they can do as entrepreneurs. And even if they don't want to go into entrepreneurship, teaching them, financial literacy and things of that nature where, if you do go and work for somebody else, you're not just punching the clock for somebody else. You're using that money that somebody else is paying you to be able to invest in something else that's going to give you a return to where you can make money in your sleep and things like that. Because like I said, everybody can't be an entrepreneur, but everybody can invest for the most part. So, we want to, like ultimately, we want to be that face. Like we'll take on that responsibility of being the face, moving forward of Black entrepreneurship in Charlottesville. And like I said, it's a network of Black entrepreneurs here. And we want to, sometimes people, have egos that come into place where they don't want to, work with someone else or whatever, for whatever reason, whether it be political affiliation, religion. We have so many things that divide us in the Black community. So we want to bridge that gap, like, and bring everybody together and be the torch bearers, so to speak. So that's how I feel.
What do you think?
I think he hit it spot on. I think everyone is a leader. And that's kind of like, the message I want to send, right? Like, I'm a leader, but you're a leader as well, right? So I think it's kind of like a shared responsibility. It's plenty of other Black entrepreneurs in the area who are leaders as well. And I want to stand side by side with not just Black, but I'm an information guy. I like information, regardless of class, color, creed, whoever it's coming from. Like I'm big on information. So if it helps me grow, then
actual fact.
Yeah, if it helps me grow, then I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, well, you're this color, or this is your religion, or this is your political affiliation, right? No, if it's helpful for the whole, the group as a whole, then we need you on the team.
This topic is coming in. Gentlemen, can you talk about the need for folks in the African American community to support other businesses in the African American community as opposed to feeling a sense of jealousy to success within the community?
Who is that question coming from?
This is coming from Tim Jones.
Tim Jones. So I try to stay away from like just the whole like, I feel like that's kind of like negative. No disrespect to Tim Jones, but who's to say that black people don't support other Black business? Like what type of like statistics do you have to kind of like, validate what you're saying?
Statement.
Like validate that statement. I'm not gonna say like go out on a limb and say that Black people don't support each other, right? I don't. Where's the information to support a claim like that?
Okay.
That's kind of like a
Same
policy.
Yeah, I feel the same to a certain extent. There is a stigma out there that I think Tim Jones is probably speaking on about how it's always said like Black people, when it comes to supporting Black businesses, they're always looking for a discount or something of that nature. But I mean, there may be some truth to that, but I think as a whole, I don't think that's accurate. I know a lot of people, black people, that go out of their way to support black businesses. And another question, like, where are the black businesses? Like, how many black businesses are in Charlottesville that you can support? Like,
Can we highlight some?
Yeah. Do you know some? I mean, I know what.
It's a lot.
Mel's is probably one of the most long-standing. Browns.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown's the man.
We know Mr. I grew up with Mr. Brown.
I'm a huge fan of downtown Mike Brown's family.
Absolutely.
What Yolanda is doing with New Hill.
William Jones.
William Jones.
Derek Brown. He also owns a barbershop off of Rose Hill Drive. So it's a number of black businesses, and a lot of these businesses are being supported.
Right,
so
by
I
black
can't
people.
just
Sharice, who's watching right now.
Right,
Yeah.
Sharice. She has a business. She just started a Black Excellence group on Facebook, so shouts out to her.
Tim Cotton just said Jones Heating and Air.
Yep.
Thank you,
Jones
Tim
Heating
Cotton,
Air.
for putting that in the feed right there. I really love what Sharice is doing because she's doing something focused around women too.
Right.
Yeah.
Women empowerment.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of small black businesses that a lot of people don't know about. I know, like Wire 'em Up Electric. Sean Jenkins got a little business.
Donna
the
Miles says
Soulful joint.
TST.
The sneaker thrift. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah,
Courtney Wheaton says, so proud of you, Derek. You inspire me every single day.
Thank you.
There's a lot of comments here. Mod Hawkins.
Ball
Hawk.
Hawk.
Yeah,
That's my guy.
Yeah, he's watching right now.
That's my guy. Ball
Snake,
Hawk. Shout out to Ball Hawk.
Damien.
Yeah.
Damien.
Oh, yeah,
Banks.
BCBA.
Man, so we can name.
Yeah.
It's so many.
All these businesses are supported by black people too. Like,
One of the things that I'm trepid about, and I'm going to throw this to you guys here, and since my kid has been born, so basically, and you guys, I don't know if you relate to this or not, been doing this business for 11 years. I tell everybody that asks, how many kids you got? I got 2 kids. I got this 11-year-old business that monopolizes most of my time, that needs nurturing, maturation, needs to be fed, which is revenue, needs to be shown which direction to go. And then I have this 18-month-old kid who needs a lot of the same things from a metaphorical standpoint. So 2 businesses. When I had my kid, I was in the hospital and watched my boy come out of my wife, and it sounds so cliche, dude, it changed me.
Yeah.
And it was a different perspective. And then I'm concerned about Charlottesville, especially with the center of developing, the center of developing entrepreneurs, whatever it's called, the Ice Park.
Yeah.
Torn down. It's going to be Joffrey Woodruff, who runs the hedge fund right across from this studio. He's going to turn that into a tech hub and a portfolio of his businesses. I'm concerned that Charlottesville is going to evolve into this San Francisco
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's going to be like Silicon Valley using UVA as a farm system. Dude across the street, Joffrey Woodruff, and I'm not knocking him. He can do whatever he wants with the money he earned. He kicked $125 million to UVA to start a new school for data science. So it's essentially a farm system going into his company.
A breeder system.
So yeah, a breeder system. I'm concerned that Charlottesville is going to turn into this tech hub of rich people, and the diversity is going to go away. Anywhere you guys want to go on that topic, and why I'm concerned is as a dad.
Yeah. I feel the same way, but I feel like it's opportunity there as well.
Okay. How so?
Because tech is one of those fields where
It knows no color.
it knows no color. It's not like it's a huge learning curve. You could maybe do a year, 2 years worth of training and then transition into the tech industry. So I don't really think it's anything we should be afraid of, but it does have the potential to attract a certain demographic. But that just speaks to us preparing for it and being ready once it, because it's a tech wave throughout the United States.
We can't stop it.
We can't stop it. We just got to be able to evolve with it. So that's kind of my take on it.
What do you think, D-Rush?
I mean, like you said, tech is inevitable. And I'm a big tech guy, so obviously, we can figure out, the bad things that's wrong with that coming, but I feel like, it's our responsibility to educate ourselves in the tech field. I know you have organizations like C4K that's pushing tech to the kids and stuff like that.
Dr. West Bellamy, We Code Too.
We Code Too, yeah.
Yeah,
West has
legit.
that going on.
Yeah.
So we gotta, we need to support organizations like that, like We Code Too. Like, you should be seeking West out to, I'm not sure what the structure of the organization is, but you should definitely seek out brothers like that and put your kids through an organization like that. Like, there should be funding going to organizations like that want to teach our kids tech, and ultimately, so they can evolve too. So where, like you said, tech is a field that right now, color doesn't really matter. It matters about, can you do the work or not? So if we're put in positions where, we know how to do the work, we have that skill set, then ultimately, we won't be left out of that as well. But I forgot what you said the gentleman's name was. It's not his responsibility to educate our community on tech. He's an entrepreneur. He's in it to make money. So
William Jones says this is a great comment. Tech is the new hoop dream.
Yeah.
So, but much more attainable.
Yeah, it's definitely more attainable. The statistics of becoming, having a hoop dream or making it to the NBA are far less than than you're going to make in the tech. Yeah,
right.
And Will and I, we had this conversation about tech, and something like Wes's his organization, We Code Too, right? I feel like we should be all over that. Yeah. We should be supporting that to the utmost. But a lot of times we're afraid of what we don't understand. Mm-hmm. So
talk to me about that.
Just business in general, right? Why don't you think a lot of people start businesses?
Because they're afraid to fail.
They're afraid to fail.
Yeah,
right?
And they're afraid. Dude, so many people come in here because we're an advertising agency, sit across from me on that desk and said, I have this great idea for a business, but I'm afraid to do this and I'm afraid to update my employment on social media because what happens if it don't work? Then everyone's going to know that it didn't work.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, who cares?
Yeah, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what do you have to lose?
Regret is a much bigger thing than not starting it from the beginning and failing.
Yeah.
A lot of people do a lot of things every day to impress a bunch of people that they don't like and don't like them anyway. So why not? If you have an idea, you can always go back to the workplace, if need be. So if you have an idea, you feel like it's a great idea, jump out there, try it. If it fails, you're going to learn something from it regardless. So it's not going to be a complete failure, and it can be applied to your next entrepreneurial venture. Anybody out there that, who's scared to kind of take that leap, and believe in themselves as an entrepreneur, just go ahead and do it. It's going to be rough times. It's going to be times where, you may not have too much money, but it's a long-term investment. It's not something that's a quick flip. You can't put entrepreneurship in a microwave and think that it's going to spit something back out to you in a couple minutes. So it's a long-term investment, and you got to be committed to it, obviously. But just like you were saying, as far as supporting organizations like that, we're trying to maybe eliminate that mindset of of being scared to to support organizations like that. Put your kid in tech. You're a lot of these people that don't do that. These kids are bright and they catch on to things fast. Right. So if you introduce them to it, then and they become interested in it, they're gonna catch on to that shit real fast. And once they do, they're gonna take off and run with it. It has to be it ultimately have to be normalized in our community, as something that's cool. Kids play sports because they think it's cool, it's fun. So we have to introduce, tech or brand tech in that type of way to where it's something that's fun to do and interesting, and get them involved in that, and ultimately it'll translate to success.
I think that's brilliant. Is that a cultural mindset shift that needs to happen? It
is a cultural mindset shift.
Paradigm shift.
Yeah, it's absolutely cultural.
That ain't easy.
It's not, and it's not something that's going to
happen overnight.
Yeah, no, it's going to take years of commitment. And a lot of people, they may be committed to it for a while, for a little bit, and then they may have some type of outcome metric that may be a little far-fetched as far as what they're going to think is going to happen. But ultimately, you just got to stay. They may think that all right, if we introduce, this community, if we start introducing tech in our community, and they don't see the success that they think that they're going to see in X amount of time, then they may start to veer away from it and think that, maybe this isn't something that's for us. But ultimately, everybody that's in tech, like I remember, kids in high school that were, doing coding and stuff like that, and you're ultimately looking at them like what the hell is that?
When we were
like,
in high school,
like,
I was like 4 years
yeah.
older than you guys. When we were in high school, that was like nerd, like not cool.
Right.
And
Right.
now it's like these people are like making bank.
Yeah,
sitting on paper.
We spent all our time making fun of the kids who were coding and doing tech stuff, like, oh man, nerd. But now fast forward, 10, 12 years later, you're like, shit, like I should have been on that. Like
Entry
like
level tech,
Yeah.
what, like
No doubt.
70, 80 grand, up to like $125,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Starting.
Starting out, yeah.
So
Out of computer science.
Yeah.
computer
And there's
science.
entrepreneurs opportunities in tech as well as independent contracting,
Right.
Things of that nature. Like if you want to jump out there, so tech is just as diverse as any other field. You can get into it, making a salary for somebody else, going to entrepreneurship through independent contracting. So
We got a lot of questions coming in. Do you guys have? We're an hour and 3 minutes in. Do you have more time?
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good.
Gino, we good on with you too? Yeah. Okay. Kalia Jones says, my son is 7 and has been lightweight obsessed with coding since he was about 4.5, and I've struggled to find a place to develop that in him for his age. Throw that topic to you. Any advice you can offer?
Obviously, we have some resources we can connect her with.
Okay. So connect with you, send them DM.
Right.
Yeah.
Send the guys a
Shoot me a
DM. All right.
We
so
have a Facebook page too, so.
And we're streaming this on your Facebook
Okay,
page.
gotcha.
Throw this question to you. So a couple other, Elliot Harding says Royalty Eats in her event catering center,
Yep.
about to grow into a breakfast cafe as well.
Oh, yeah.
Abby Guskin, Robert Gray, and Derek Rush, your inspiration, honesty to push and encourage the young generation is brilliant. I'm inspired by watching and listening to you. James Watson, good friend of this program, has this question for you. Fellas, you guys grew up in Albemarle County. Jerry, please ask them about their thoughts about the reality that there's only been one African American elected to the Board of Supervisors in Albemarle County history.
That's the reality of living in this area.
Gerard Smith was trying to make that change, and I think Gerard Smith will make that change. He's watching right now.
he
Love
needs to-
Gerard Smith, Rivanna District. Your thoughts on that topic? I know you can go super deep on this one.
Well, I feel like, Charlottesville, like the city of Charlottesville has stepped up to, try to spark some progressiveness, right, in terms of
Politics?
politics, just the conversation in general.
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
With, we had Nakaya
Yep.
be elected to, as mayor. West, Bellamy's running. But
New city manager.
city
right.
manager,
Michael
yes.
Richardson.
Yeah,
Richardson,
Teron
yeah.
Richardson. So I feel like hopefully Albemarle County starts to get the drift, right, and try to follow suit. Albemarle County, just growing up, it's extremely conservative, right? Even in terms of the business development, you don't really see a lot of programs within the Albemarle County area. Really pushing startup, small business startup, right? They're mainly focused on big business development, which is kind of I don't know. I think there's an area for improvement there. So, but hopefully they follow suit.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I didn't know that. I'm guilty of.
That's a troubling statistic.
Yeah, I'm guilty of not being super in tune with the political landscape in Albemarle County. Just from because I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of people in our community are just in survival mode, and they have so much other things going on to where it's hard to stay politically involved. And when you're in that survival mode, it's it's almost like it benefits those who aren't in our community to be able to, keep getting those seats, in Albemarle County. And just Albemarle County and Charlottesville just not being on the same accord when it comes to things. Albemarle County, like you said, is definitely a little bit more conservative than Charlottesville City. So I think maybe there's conversation that need to be had with, the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Because I know when we went through, for a small example, when we went through CIC, there was a representative from Albemarle County, and then we had Holly Lee, who was a representative from the city.
City government.
Yeah, so, Holly was, listing off all this stuff and these resources that the city of Charlottesville provides to entrepreneurs and, minorities and so on and so forth.
County didn't have much.
Yeah, the Albemarle County guy came in there. He was like, well, we can maybe send you to this person and they might be able to help you out with something. But it's like, he just came, it had us thinking in there like, why? Like, why did you, what are you here for? Like,
right.
You didn't, you came here for what? Like, you didn't come here with any access to any resource for any of us to benefit from. And not all of us that are in that CIC class, it was only a handful of us that were actually city residents who would be eligible for some of those stuff that the city offers. So, there were a lot of people asking, well, why isn't Albemarle County offering these type of resources? Why isn't Albemarle County having, things like the CIC, that give you access to resources and things like that? So, I just think the county is just like, I don't know if it's just a lack of, them not caring, like, maybe the people in position of power, they like things the way they are and they're not, willing to, accept new ideas.
I think it's a legacy mindset that needs to change.
But it's weird because, like,
I don't understand it.
Like Albemarle, Charlottesville, like, sits like in Albemarle County, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, why aren't you guys collaborating, right, for the better of the community as a whole, like that whole in totality? Like, why is there this? I feel like there's still like
tension,
tension, and
like competition or something.
They're competing, right? And that's the whole idea behind conscious capital. Like, we need to collaborate because I think we're stronger together. We're stronger together.
It's weird when you see, like, it's all like Charlottesville sits in the middle of Albemarle County, surrounded by Albemarle County. And my thing is just like if Albemarle County and Charlottesville were on the same page when it came, like, moving forward for the betterment of the community, like, this could be a very powerful community, like, and things like that. It's almost like living in Richmond. It's almost like, it seems like Richmond and Chesterfield and Henrico and places like that, they're kind of coming together for the betterment of that whole area.
Right.
But it's like, Albemarle County and Charlottesville kind of, slow with the moving kind of slow when it comes to trying to get on the same page. If that, I don't even know if is that something that they're...
No, I think you're all over it.
Is it?
I think you're all over it.
We talked about that in Leadership Charlottesville as well. Like, Albemarle County could very well, like, they're investing in, like, a lot of this infrastructure, but just imagine if you had, like, some of these mid-level companies, just different companies, open up shop in Albemarle County. Like, what would that do, like, for residents in Charlottesville? Like, that's more job opportunity, more room for growth, business wise. So I just don't understand, like, why there's, so much of a divide there. It just doesn't make sense.
What is Charlottesville? Here's a crystal ball prediction, and this is for the sake of a talk show. What does Charlottesville look like when my 19-month-old kid and your 1-year-old daughter are seniors in high school?
Well, I can't. Yeah, that's a good question. I know it won't look like this. It's evolving into, like, this tech hub, for one, and then just the infrastructure. I think builders, developers will start to build up, right? We'll start seeing, like, more high-rise buildings. It'll look like more like a metro
city.
Yeah, more like a city.
It seems like it's like Charlottesville. Like, so I go to the like DC, like, so I play lacrosse. So I'm in Maryland, DC area a lot, Northern Virginia. So, like, when I'm going through, like, those areas, like it's almost like, and then you come back to Charlottesville, it's almost like they're evolving into, like, an extension of Northern Virginia.
Yeah, like Northern Virginia.
And it just has that type of feel. So I think that's what they're moving towards, and I think that big tech hub is going to turn it into a Northern Virginia type of vibe, DC type of vibe. So, I think in the next 10 to 15 years, like, that's what Charlottesville is going to look like more so than, like, it's just going to be, have that same, like, Arlington type of atmosphere, somewhere like that, or, like, Georgetown in DC type of area. So, I think that's ultimately, like, what it seems like that's the direction that they're heading right now.
What's the advice you give Derek Rush with the perspective you have now to say 20 years ago?
20 years. What would I give advice to myself 20 years ago? Educate yourself. Become as knowledgeable and well-rounded as possible. Try to develop friendships in all walks of life. Be versatile. Be true to yourself. Always do your knowledge. Find out who you are, where you come from, have a thorough knowledge yourself, and just make yourself into a brand and market yourself.
Advice. Same question.
Stay true to self, and you learn a lot about yourself as an entrepreneur. I worked in, traditional work settings where, I didn't necessarily fit the mold, right? I kind of I move at the beat of my own drum. That's just me as a person. But ultimately, your work should speak for itself, right? So people can say whatever they want about you, but they can't deny your work if you're doing good work. So just being true to yourself, right? You don't have to talk a certain way, or you don't have to dress a certain way, right? Your work kind of overshadows all of that.
Any interest at all for either of you guys getting involved politically?
Probably not.
No?
I kind of stay in my lane and only try to speak on things that I have knowledge about. Maybe if I become more politically inclined sometime in the future and get more in-depth knowledge of, how politics works, I'd be open to it if that's something that I was pushed towards. But as far as how I'm thinking now, I feel like I can be more effective outside of that political arena more so than inside it.
What do you think, Robert?
So politics described to me is the authoritative allocation of valued things, who gets what and why. I don't think we necessarily have to do that through participatory democracy. I think we can invoke change in other ways. And right now I'm in this entrepreneurship lane. I feel like we could do it through social entrepreneurship, because it can also be described as the negotiation of valued things. And a lot of times when we're in these rooms, in the political arena, I'm speaking specifically to the black community, we have nothing to negotiate but our sweat equity, right? And I did my senior research paper on the Supreme Court's the case Citizens United, and it was just speaking to how these major corporations have basically turned money into actual people, right? So money kind of influences election outcomes now, and it's easier to organize money than it is to organize people. So I feel like I'm in that lane right now. I'm not really so much focused on the political stuff. There's a time and there's a place for it, but I don't think we're at the point where we can fully contribute to the political stuff.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of people watching the show now. Why don't we close with this one? Anywhere you want to go? A lot of people watching right now. Any topic you want to say, anything you want to cover, show's yours.
I just wanted to speak a little bit more about what we're trying to do as an organization. I feel like, so just to speak, I know we mentioned what we're doing, but we never really mentioned our target of who we're going to be working with. So we carved out a niche for our organization, working with, we want to work with kids who are specifically in the alternative school settings, and also youth detention settings, group home settings, because we feel like those are the kids who have been, for lack of a better word, cast away from society. Basically, they've been given up on for the most part. Dealing with the whole school to prison pipeline, I feel like that final step, once they've been kicked out of school, placed into alternative schools. I mean, sometimes they're given the opportunity to work themselves back into the regular school settings, but I feel like that's basically all preparation to go into a youth detention center. Once you get in that system, you're being prepped to go into the Department of Corrections from there. So, we feel like, getting to those kids before they get to that point is going to be a huge part of what we want to do. Reducing recidivism.
What's that?
Recidivism?
Yeah.
Is when if somebody were to get locked up and then they're released, like basically coming back into the system. So we want to reduce the amount of people who are being released and then returning into those settings. So as well as the, even the alternative school side, we want to, get them out of that environment. Not to say that what they're doing at alternative schools, like the people, who work in that setting don't want the best for them, because I'm sure, that's probably why they're in there, because they feel like, they're the ones who can implement that change in them. So we want to, work closely with, schools like that, with like-minded people. Going to the Youth Detention Center, we're working on a partnership with like the Blue Ridge Detention Center. I'm working on a contact at a Chesterfield, local Chesterfield Detention Center, hopefully into Richmond and Henrico as well. So just trying to touch base on, what we're actually trying to do, when it comes to the social entrepreneurship. And, we're willing to go into the places that, a lot of people and a lot of organizations aren't willing to go into, because they may be worried about, outcome metrics and things of that nature. But, we're willing to go into the places that nobody else wants to go into and work with the kids that nobody else wants to work with.
Respect. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Same. Final word. Anything you want to cover?
I think we touched a lot.
Deep today.
Yeah, we got deep. You can invite us anytime.
Please.
We'll come back. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for providing this platform to really for people to come in, individuals to come on this show and really speak from the mind and the heart, and not be I don't know.
Doesn't feel like a scripted.
Yeah,
it's not scripted.
Yeah,
it's not judgmental. It's non-judgmental. I just feel like I can speak my mind, and it's not I have to align with a certain ideology or anything like that. I can just speak from the heart and speak from the mind.
The ramifications of speaking your mind.
The long form, I think the long form content breeds security and confidence and almost a sense of safety, because nothing can be taken out of context.
Right.
It's not like a 15-second soundbite.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like a 3-sentence quote in the newspaper. It's it's here.
Right.
And you have contextual perspective. You guys crushed it. Anytime you want, carte blanche for the show. Seriously.
Yeah.
Anytime you want. And if you think anybody that you suggest, carte blanche.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seriously. I'm just trying to do a roundtable discussion featuring the best of Charlottesville.
Absolutely.
Nicholas Feggins.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nick.
Wanted to get him in today,
Tell
but
me about him.
he had some stuff come up. He was just appointed.
I don't know him.
He's from Charlottesville,
Okay.
born and raised here in the city. We were business partners at 89 Till, and since then he's went on to become the unit director at the Jack Jewett Boys and Girls Club.
Cool.
So he has a lot of. I learned a lot from him working with him, and he has a lot to say as well. So you should definitely, bring him on.
Down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is what we're going to do with today's show. We will archive the show in totality on ilovecville.com. We'll take the audio from today's show and we'll turn it into a podcast on iTunes.
Okay.
We'll do both by close of business today. For 30 days following today, we'll syndicate the show across the I Love CVille network, which is 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts, an Instagram community that reaches about 12,000 people, a daily e-newsletter that goes out to 118,000 inboxes every morning at 11 a.m., and of course, ilovecville.com and on iTunes. In totality, the platform reaches a little over 253,000 people over the course of a calendar year. These gentlemen crushed it. We close the program with the same message every single time, and I do not make this about religion. I just make this about the golden rule in general, and it's treating other people that you come across in your life how you want to be treated yourself. Men and women, it's the golden rule. Treat other people that you come across in your life how you want to be treated yourself. Charlottesville needs the golden rule more than ever. Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, and the country need the golden rule more than ever. This is Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille Show. Enjoy your afternoon.
That was good, man.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously. Cheers.
Oh yeah.
Good work.
Thanks for
Good
having
work.
us on, man. Appreciate
Our
it.
pleasure. Anytime you want. I mean that. I mean that. Anytime you want. One more thing we got to do is we got to take